So Darnell, is there any age range for using comics in education?
So no, there's no age range. It's just the idea that everyone learns differently, everyone communicates differently. It's a situation where I don't force the idea of using comics. I don't tell everybody that everybody should be reading comics. Just like I don't say that it should be an expectation that everybody writes to the same level or writes in the same way. We're all human beings. We all come at the experience of learning or producing or consuming in our own idiosyncratic, unique ways. So no, there's no age range, but if I could talk about what it might look like at each level. So if it's someone who's in the K-12 space, or let's say K to 8 space, right? Like before high school. So um, elementary level, junior high level, there are a lot of books out there that are targeted at kids. So American Born Chinese is one book that I can think of that's more like a book that you can provide for students to learn about what is it like for what is it like for this specific population learning in schools or interfacing, interacting with other students. There is books that are specific to a topic, right? Like there could be an introduction to chemistry book. There can be an introduction to physics book, and you might think, "Whoa, that sounds like it's for high school or even maybe college." But no, it's presented in a way where it's actually accessible. It's something kids can enjoy. And I'll also say that even if it's not specifically targeted at a specific age range, like if a child wants to read it, we always see kids who want to read beyond their level as something positive, right? So it's another thing I just want to throw out there, that even if something is targeted for a specific age range, doesn't mean that it shouldn't be read by anybody who's not in that age range when we're talking specifically about educational content, right? And then if I go to the high school level, there's a lot of books out there that are specific to high school. Again, covering the same similar topic areas. There are times when the same book that might have been read at the elementary school level or junior high level is read again at the high school level, only because it's being read from a different perspective, right? And those experiences that someone would have had by that time isn't necessarily available to them in the elementary school level, right? And so they're able to connect with it. And then lastly, if we're talking about college, I teach at the college level. I teach teachers because I'm trying to introduce them to the idea of being open to use these multimodal ways to teach, right? So multimodality, it means that, you want to use audio, visual, linguistic, spatial, gestural forms of communication. And there are different mediums, like again, comics or even theater. It doesn't always have to be something that's a physical product, right? But different ways of communicating is the point. So coming back to comics, yeah, at the college level, I use them in my classroom. I use some of those same titles that I just talked about. And then I also look out for what's new. There's a new book called, what is it called? I'm trying to think right now. I can't remember the name of the title right now. Oh, Invisible. It's called Invisible. So Invisible talks about the experiences of different Hispanic kids from different countries and talks about some of the similarities, talks about some of the differences. And I like that. Again, it's giving you this opportunity to learn about the different experiences that are out there, right? It's not about always feeling like everybody has to experience things the same way. So again, the last thing I'll say is that I also teach at the graduate level. I teach doctoral students, and those doctoral students often go on to become principals, or they become policymakers, or they become, you know, educational leaders in general, because that's what the degree is in. And at that level, they're making decisions that make it harder or easier for people to decide that I want to incorporate video games into my classrooms, or I want to incorporate comics into my classroom. So me teaching them, discussing it, giving them the opportunity to experiment or play around with the idea of using comics in the classroom, that gives them the ability to think about, okay, how might it look if I made this decision at the educational leadership level that I'm at? The decisions I'm making, is it hindering teachers from being able to use comics in the classroom in a positive way? Is it, supporting, making it possible for them to not only use comics, but also to use things like AI, or to use things like, chat GPT, that's a divisive, that's a divisive topic, but any new forms of technology that are out there, social media, et cetera. So that's just a high level description or examples of how I look at it and how I teach it at different levels, and how others might be able to teach it at different levels.
Perfect.